Okay, everyone, welcome back to session 3. But before we do that, there's something I left out of our prior presentation on 1 year from today, which is when you're busy and on the go, you might have noticed there's a section called Progress Tracker. I, to be honest, didn't spend much time there. Let me go to this one. So the system loves feedback. So, for example, Sally provided feedback. This is somebody that this particular 1 year from today was shared with, and they provided their feedback. This could be your trusted advisor, your leadership team. But it also loves when you tell the platform what you have done. We call it Progress Tracker. And so, for example, you could say something as simple as hit a roadblock, materials unavailable till summer, had a key meeting, need to set a 90 whatever you want to mark as progress. Now, here's a reality. None of you are going to, in the course of your very busy days, remember to log into what do you think and mention a thing that happened to the program. However, this is valuable material for what we're about to show you, which is your second brain. And we've made it incredibly easy for you to add this material, which is we have created an app on the iPhone and on the Android. And all you have to do at any time, if you see down here at the bottom of this screenshot, there's a progress tab. So you can be sitting at lunch and you can be, sitting on an airplane, and all you have to do is click the progress button and pick which 1 year from today you want to update. And you could just update things like had a meeting, hit this milestone, whatever you want. All of it will eventually find its way into the progress tracker here. And we created that because the system loves updates, and because, as I shared with you, the way we work is you have an accountability partner in the Birthing of Giants platform. And I'm not going to go into it now, it's too detailed, but when you're meeting with that other person, all your progress trackers are basically shared with that person so that that individual who's going to help you is fully up to date on the progress you've made on that 1 year from today. And also, if you meet with the experts in Birthing of Giants, you can actually request a meeting with the real live experts in the faculty. So you can, at any point, you see this little gold coin that appears in a couple of places. We call those what do you think coins. And when you click on them, you can essentially redeem them for one-on-one sessions with expert faculty members, the real people, the Doug Tatums, the Lewis Schiffs. And we basically have put a fun 200 coin redemption here on this. So in this example, this user has 685 coins. If he wants to meet with, Lewis, he just has to request the appointment and the topic, and he can essentially request an appointment with that person. I'll be honest with you. You could have an appointment with me anytime you want it. You probably can have an appointment with any of our experts anytime you want it. But the point is, if you have an appointment with us, we're going to look up your progress. And so if you haven't updated your progress on any one of these by simply firing up the app when you're having a sandwich and just updating the updates, it's going to be harder to have that meeting. Likewise, your accountability partner. So, one of the great things in a peer group environment is you have accountability. We know that we hate bosses as entrepreneurs, but we do like accountability. And so keeping your progress up to date is the way you'll do that. The other thing I want to share with you on the platform, this little red button that's always present. This is a pretty simple platform. There's only 4 things you can do. There's look forward. There's look backwards. Occasionally, you'll tell us about your company, and occasionally you'll tell us about your network. But mostly on a day-to-day or a month-to-month basis, you're telling us what you're going to do or what you did. If at any time you want help, you just click this button and somebody from our customer success team will reach out to you and make an appointment to teach you how to do anything on the platform you need to know. It's also got a full help desk here, but we're here for you whenever you want and wherever you want. Okay. Now moving on, the next thing I wanted to share with you all was how do we take this data that we've been creating with you in your 1 year from today and turn it into that sellable asset that you will one day transact around, or even if you keep it forever, your more valuable asset. And I shared with you at the very beginning at the session 1 what the Founder Friendly Capital Research Report looks like, that document that you essentially would share with anyone who's going to help you maximize the value of your business, an investment banker, M&A advisor. And I'm going to share much more about that during the course of this session, which is how do you build your asset? So the 1 year from today process, which was we teach you the private equity playbook, for example, the importance of recurring revenue. You can apply it to your company. You can journey that whole idea through the AI experts and the real experts in your life, your real leadership team, and eventually deploy it. And then I just showed you how you would keep progress updates. Now let's look at how you would track what you did, not what you're going to do. And in Birthing a Giant's language, what you did is called the Buffett benchmark. Quick lesson on the Buffett benchmark, because we do something that's quite remarkable that nobody else in any kind of business growth assistance program does. We literally can show you how your business is growing or shrinking in value, roughly quarter by quarter. And the Buffett benchmark comes from obviously Warren Buffett, where for 50 years he proved. Now, remember, Warren Buffett's company, Berkshire Hathaway, was a publicly traded company for about 50 years. And therefore, its price was debated in the stock market in seconds. Every second, some buyer and some seller are agreeing to a price on Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway stock. So he can always tell you the value of his company by saying it's a $100 stock and there's 100 shares outstanding. That means the company's value is $10,000. But he showed over 50 years, every time he shared his annual report, he would share this trick. And the trick is how if you take the assets line in your balance sheet, the bottom line of your assets, and the bottom line in your liabilities, and you subtract your liabilities from assets, that's called your book value. In other words, that's a way of saying if I took everything, company, we own 3 trucks and we have 50 computers, whatever your assets are, and then you took your liabilities, we have these debts and we have these accounts outstanding, those are your liabilities, and you subtract your liabilities from your assets, that's called the technical book value of your company. Over 50 years, Warren Buffett showed how the book value of Berkshire Hathaway was pretty darn close to the stock value. In other words, he was applauding the stock market by saying that every time buyer and seller get together and come up with a new price for the Berkshire Hathaway stock, it's pretty close to the book value. And what I mean is in terms of percentage changes. So what I mean here is imagine your assets are $1 million and your liabilities are $500,000. And you subtracted your $500,000 in liabilities from your $1 million in assets, you'd be left with $500,000. Now, fast forward 90 days later and you run that exact same math. And that math takes about 30 seconds to do what I just showed you. All you do, assets and liabilities. Now it's 30 days later and $1 million, just to help me with my math, let's say your $1 million in assets went up to $2 million. And let's say your liabilities went up twice as well to $1 million. So $2 million minus $1 million is $1 million. Now, if you compare that number to the prior quarter, you'll see what I mean with the benchmark. In the first quarter, it was a $500,000 number, and the second quarter, it's $1 million number. All I can tell you, according to Buffett's benchmarks math, is that your company probably is twice as valuable as it was 90 days ago, because $500,000 is $1 million is twice as much as $500,000. So the Buffett benchmark measures percentage changes over periods. So let me share with you how that looks, because this is the power of the Buffett benchmark. Again, we're using Clayton Thomas from Swimming Lessons for Clayton. His company is called OptiGuard. And we put in data for Clayton during the course of this book for 2010 all the way through to about 2022. And you can see it shows the quarter. So in this example, it's quarter 1 through quarter 3. In this example, it's quarter 1 through quarter 4. And you can set your fiscal year. But in this example, we're looking at 2010 quarter. This is representing 3 quarters. This is representing 4 quarters, 4 quarters. In fact, you could even see it that way if you click the Organize by Year button. But we're able to see the change in value of his Buffett benchmark over that period. He was literally in negative book value in 2010 when he starts this company. And then you can see it grow over time. And this is what Warren Buffett said is a perfectly good way to understand the value of your company. In 2011, his assets were $650, his liabilities were $450. That's a difference of $200,000. Fast forward to 2012, At the end of the year, his assets were 1.2, liabilities were 750, his net equity 450. We do this cute thing, which is we just make it look like a share price. So it's just behind the scenes math. All we've done is taken the $200,000 number and we just cut off these 4 zeros. In other words, we divide it by 10,000 and it shows up as 20. And we just hold it there. So we really start with the first year you put in and it calculates it down to a share price and then it holds it there. So it's going to hold that number, that denominator, right? $200,000 divided by, or excuse me, $20,000 divided by 10,000 is -2. And 200,000 by, it's going to hold that $10,000 denominator. Now it's 20. And so here, ready for the powerful part, guys? This is what it looks like over time. It looks like a share price. Warren Buffett will tell you that this number, which is book value of this company in 2014, is pretty darn close to the number of the value of his company in Berkshire Hathaway as a publicly traded company in terms of percentage growth. So as we look at these changes in percentages, we're actually looking at our company as if it were a publicly traded share price. And you can do this. We recommend doing it every 90 days. In this example, we did it annually. But this is what your company's trajectory could look like. You can do this math at home. You don't need this fancy chart, but we've done it for you. So you can look now over time. 2010 was his first year, 0%. 2010 to 2011 is going to show 1,100% increase. And now you can see year over year the valuation change of your company as if you were publicly traded. And you can see the total change over the period when you started this measurement through the period that you ended this measurement. This is a Buffett benchmark. This is a very simple way for us to figure out if your company is growing in value. Now let's look at any given entry, because that's where it gets real interesting. Because I shared with you how your progress tracker updates on your 1 year from today that you'll do from your smartphone while you're eating a sandwich helps us understand what's happening. Remember, your 1 year from today was aspirational. 1 year from today, I will increase my recurring revenues by 20%, and here's how. Your progress tracker updates were real. I really had a meeting with this person, and here's what really happened. The Buffett benchmark thrives on real, what really happened. So as we go into one particular year, this is 2011, January through December, and you can see his assets at the end of the year were 650, 450, 200. Benchmark was $20. Simple way to see it through here. But he did the exact same thing, which is he shared with us what he did. We took it through an expert process, and we ended up with what we call a period summary. The period summary is the equivalent of the section 7 on the 1 year from today. It's a thoughtful analysis of what he did. Let me share with you how we got here, though. We started with the benchmark. He puts in 2 numbers right here. You can just see he puts in assets and liabilities, those 2 numbers. We graph it, but then he tells us about the period. He averted Chapter 11 bankruptcy. That's the start of the book. I'm just giving a little bit of the book now. Restructured the cap table. Whatever he did, he looked at the labor and the tech of his company. He recovered significant operating cash by digitizing and systemizing past due receivables. What you're doing is you're sharing what you really did during this period. The system helps you. All you have to do is put in whatever you think, and it starts asking you questions. So in this case, it's asking him some questions, and he's able to put in more time periods. Now I'll show you one from start in a moment. But after you've put in what you did, same thing, is you get to a point where the experts are willing to look at what you did. And in this case, he got to 68%. Let's go to the experts he worked with. He chose Will and Dale, and they gave him analysis of his business financial trajectory. Phenomenal. And what did he do right? And what could he do differently? And here the expert has pointed out his debt to equity ratio has dramatically improved. And he simply wants to capture that by saving it to the Buffett benchmark, just like you did with the 1 year from today, and does something similar with Dale's analysis. If you recall, you can ask Dale and Will or whichever experts you chose to speak to each other. And in this example, you can see where Dale and Will agree, areas of agreement, areas of disagreement. Again, you can always clip it to your clipping path. I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. Eventually, you get to your save stack where you can go to your clipboard and canvas. You can see Dale's points of view that you clipped. You can see your overall canvas, which is what you wrote in when you started this conversation in that very first screen. It's helping you do it. The system helps you write it up. And eventually you push it into your period summary. Same thing, you generate a statement, and here's your statement. And why are you doing this? Because you've just created a 1-year paper record, track record, paper trail of what you did in the past year that moved the needle of the company's valuation. I just want you to think about that statement for a moment. You go to sit with a buyer of your company and they say, what did you do 5 years ago? And how did the company's value change? What do you say? I don't know. I don't even know how my value changed. What did you do 3 years ago? How did you get the company to become so much more valuable 3 years ago? I don't know. We got a new client. I don't remember. How much value did you create 3 years ago? I have no idea. This system, by simply asking you what your assets were, what your liabilities were, which is easy to get. Any one of you should be able to get this from your bookkeeper by the end of this phone call. And just in a few words, what you did during that period. And we do this quarterly, which is how we recommend you do it every 90 days, just because it's easier to remember what you did the past 90 days. But we can go all the way back up here and see, in this example, over time, this business owner recorded what they did over many different periods and created a narrative just by putting in what they did. Their assets, their liabilities, and a few things about what they did. And the system captures it. Now go back to that document I shared with you at the beginning, the Founder-Friendly Capital Research Report. This is where it's pulling it from. It's pulling what you did from this kind of documentation. If you were to share that research report with a buyer, this would get you more money with a more simple, less restrictive earnout if you did good things. If this shows how you added value, if this shows, how you de-risk the business, this will get you more money. So what we specialize in at Birthing a Giants, we feel passionately about, is we want to ask so little of you because you're so busy operating the company and making strategic decisions to successfully keep your Buffett benchmark up to date over periods. All we need is your assets, and all we need is your liabilities, and all we need is for you to tell us what you did during that period, and we'll take it from there. We will build a narrative. In fact, if you recall, when I shared with you that Founder-Friendly Capital Research Report, which I'll share with you right now, we're actually, it's going to build the report again. We're actually taking what you did in your words, and we're tagging it to the 6 areas of the roadmap. Maybe it was competitive moat. Maybe it was market fit. We can figure out what you did at your company, and we can tag it to the right area of the curriculum so that a buyer, a private equity firm, a corporate M&A department will see what you did in their language. This is the great translation moment for what do you think? You've been busy hiring, firing, building and stopping, selling and, and changing in your operational terms. This platform translates it into ownership terms. And therefore, when a buyer is looking at it, they understand what you did. And everything you did shows up here. And that's the power of this platform. And that's how just telling us your assets, your liabilities, and what you did every 90 days will increase the value of your business. I'm going to switch to the next part of our topic here, which is, I'm just going to bring up my record here, is the Moneymakers Club. Okay, so the Buffett benchmark, as I shared, simply looks backwards. 1 year from today simply looks forwards. All we ask you to do is understand your company well and put it into the platform. You don't have to think about, the technical details of how this translates. The platform does it for you. And you'll get from that, as I said, a longitudinal record of the value creation of your company, the ups and the downs of it over time. Anytime you want, you can just, you can go into the entry and see what you did at that period just by going to the save stack and by going to the period summary. Like the other parts of the platform, you can share this with your network, or you can export it easily to Word or just to your file cabinet in the system. So it's very powerful, and who has access to it? No one's been granted access to it. A little less important, but you would probably want to share this with your CFO or other people who are really responsible for your financial progress over time. Okay, that's the simple stuff. Now, I told you before we took a break that this platform would show you how to make operational decisions based on financial impact. which is different from how most of us make financial decisions. We tend to make operational decisions because we think it'll be good for the company, but we don't always understand the financial impact. We have designed a second level within What Do You Think for those of you who want to go to the next level. So this is not for everyone. This is for those of you who want to finally understand the difference between the operational decisions you make and the financial impact of those decisions. And we call it the Moneymakers Club. And you can see here in the side navigation, in this example, Clayton, this user, has decided he wants to get even deeper into the financial impact of his business. And he joined a program we have called the Moneymakers Club. The Moneymakers Club, its output can be described very simply. It will double revenues and triple profits over time. And you say, how does it do that? Because once you start making operational decisions with financial impact, you will see how it impacts revenue and profit. Everyone in our program should do this. Some people are not ready because it's almost overwhelming as an idea that this can work so well. What you're looking at in the Moneymakers Club is called the Moneymaker Club Tracker. And this works with a coach. You have your own Moneymaker Club coach. This is a person who is an expert at helping you make operational decisions based on financial impact. You might call this person in your world a CFO or even an outsourced CFO, but it's not really true. Our coaches are specialized in helping convert operational decisions into financial impact. So I'm going to show you a year where this user, Clayton, has put in some data. I'm choosing 2020 randomly. And the first thing we do is you have to invite a delegate because we don't want you putting in all this data. It's too much work. So this would be your bookkeeper, your controller, someone who has access to your books. And each month, that person, not you, would submit key data. And again, you're going to see the power of AI here because we can take that data and our coach can start to make operational decisions, can start to help you make operational decisions based on financial impact. Let's take a look at October 2010. I want you to draw your attention first to the calculated ratio side on the right. This is what we're going to look at. These are all the ratios that your moneymaker coach is going to work on with you. Now, not every one of these is relevant to your business, and if it isn't, it'll be hidden. For example, the rule of 40 is very much intended for businesses that have recurring revenue. If that's not your business, that won't appear. But these are all the core metrics of your business that you should know before you make operational decisions. Some of you are going to look at this and your eyes are going to cross. You're going to say, too many numbers. I don't even know what half of those things mean. And what I'm going to tell you is that our coach, this is a real person, this is not AI, our coach will help you. So that when you say, I want to increase recurring revenues, or I want to increase the amount of cash I have on hand, or I want to go to market to sell this business in 3 years, what numbers do I need to show? It'll all show up in the calculated ratios. For example, if you wanted to improve your days in accounts receivable, you would make operational decisions that would show up here. If you want to increase your revenue per full-time employee, that would be the number you'd be focusing on. You'd make operational decisions based on financial impact. If you wanted to make any one of these numbers, gross profit per full-time employee, it would be because you're having conversations with people like investment bankers and they're saying, if you can get your gross profit per full-time employee up above this number, it'll add this much value to your company. These are real conversations you'll have with your coach. It could be your churn rate, your turnover rate in your employees. This is your Buffett benchmark. Altman Z score tells you how much money you can borrow or how much risk you'd bring to a bank if you did borrow money. All these numbers, they may look a little like a foreign language to you now, but when you get through working with your Moneymakers Club coach, all these numbers would translate into operational decisions. So the numbers show up here. Revenue, this is what your controller, your bookkeeper would put in every month. Assets, liabilities, equity, operations, pipeline, people, customers, and even unique KPIs to your industry, because every industry is unique. And that bookkeeper would upload these numbers every month, and you would meet with your Moneymakers Club coach every 90 days, and they will tell you what your numbers are telling them. The dashboard is where all the work is done. So if you said, show me, let's see, what are we on 2020, I think. So show me March 2020. Let's just say this is the month we're in. Let's compare to March 2020 a year later, compared to March 21 a year later, compared to March 22 a year later. And in real time, it's just calculating the differences. And you and your Moneymakers Club coach are going to go through these numbers and these numbers on a quarterly basis. And essentially, you have this would be better described as a chief revenue architect or a revenue architect is what this really is, because it focuses on revenues and profits that lead to a more valuable business. And so you can start to look at how things happen over time and what decisions are made. This is a year over year way of looking at it. Of course, you can look at it month over month with the coach. If you just want to look at it April, May 21, May 20. Now you're looking at month over month. And then you're looking at the visuals here. He's looking at accounts receivable, accounts payable, inventory, all these numbers you've put in, and he can look at it over the last 3 months, all months. That's going to be very small because it's 10 years. But you and he are essentially going off the numbers and off the charts, this chart. And the power of this to make better operational decisions is enormous. So I started off by saying to you, we think you can increase your revenues by 2x and profits by 3x. It's because working with a coach every 90 days, you'll start to understand the relationship between these numbers and your operational decisions. Now, this all should be fed back into your 1 year from today process, where you make better decisions about what you want to do over the next 1 year based on financial goals you want to accomplish. So I started with this very simple example. I want more recurring revenues. But as a Moneymakers Club client, you'd have a much more thoughtful approach here. You'd say, the reason I need to increase recurring revenues from this percent to that percent is because it's going to affect these KPIs in my business. And my goal is to increase my EBIT margin. And I work with my Moneymakers Club coach. And I know that if I can increase recurring revenues from 20% to 30%, it'll improve my EBIT margin by 10%. And that's my goal. That's how you turn revenues and profits up in your business. And we help you on this platform make all those operational decisions in your regular 1 year from today cadence. Let's put it all together, because if you're making better 1 year from today decisions, more thoughtful 1 year from today plans based on your work with your Moneymakers Club coach, then it's going to show up in your Buffett benchmark. It's going to show up here. So eventually over time, you're going to see this number improve, and you're going to know why. That's the power of the combination of the 1 year from today with the Moneymakers Club with the Buffett benchmark. They work together as a bridge. I also want to share with you, because I'm about to jump into the next part of this program, that what I've just described to you takes the way you run your business today, which is a lot of it is on instinct and gut, and it makes it purely methodical, because it tells you what to do next based on what the impact is going to be. It tells you what to do in the future based on the impact in the past. This is the loop that Birthing a Giant closes that has never been closed for a business owner. My goal is to sell my business in 5 years. I need to make 1 year decisions today, and I need to know what their impact is going to be on the past, all towards my goal of selling my business in 5 years. It turns it into a series of operational projects. Get my KPIs up in recurring revenues by 5% because I understand how that's going to help my company more valuable. It's going to be documented in the Buffett benchmark so that when I sell it, they will see what I did and they will understand why they're paying for it, a premium. This is the closed loop. We've taken something that was once completely mysterious and we've turned it into a series of regular business owner decisions, the very kinds of decisions that people like you make every day very, very well, because you understand your business so well. And we've turned it into a powerful platform to make those decisions more easily. And we're very, very proud about that. Now, at this point, 30 minutes into the presentation, I want to share with you the other really powerful thing that leans into our thesis of the Centaur CEO that the platform will help you do without you having to do a darn thing. we are so proud of, and we work so hard to make it so that all you have to do is think about your future 1 year from today, track the progress you've made, tell us your assets minus liabilities and what you did. And if you're working with our Moneymakers Club coach, he will walk you through how your operational decisions in 1 year from today will impact your financial decisions. All you have to do is take a 90-minute meeting every 3 months to do that. The last powerful thing to show you here, which is something I shared earlier, is it's called your second brain. So think about it. When you tell us what you're going to do 1 year from today and your progress, and when you tell us what you did in the last 90 days over and over and over again, we are able to extract your thought process. Now, I hear a lot of people talking about second brain as if it's a company second brain, like we'll have the company's value proposition in there. We'll have the company's language in there so that all the emails come out with the company's language. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about your brain, your strategic, comprehensive, obsessive founder brain. And we want to build this brain for a very simple reason. The more times we can get your staff to use your second brain instead of using you as the go-to answer provider for everything in your company, not only does it make you have less work to do, it actually increases the value of your company, because the number one weakness in your companies is called founder dependency. Well, you can tell the company you take 6 weeks vacation. You can tell a buyer you take 6 weeks vacations. You can tell them till you're blue in the face. This platform tracks how often your staff uses your second brain so that they don't go to you, so that it can be translated into a valuation increase in your business. This has never before existed in the world for the lower middle market. So we're going to spend some time here in the second brain part of my company. So, I shared with you a minute ago how you can ask your own second brain a question, but that's only okay. What we really need is the people who work for you to ask your second brain questions. We're taking your 1 year from today's, we're taking your Buffett benchmarks, the content you're putting in there, and we're extrapolating a thought process into your second brain. Now, this is Clayton, so this is all made up, so he has 0 questions asked, but we are tracking how many times a question gets asked by your leadership team or whoever you give this brain to. And it just assigns a value of 15 minutes per question. And so very simple, you've got a roughly 2,000-hour working year. We're trying to track how many questions you push to your second brain, because we will share that information with a buyer. We will say, this person has reduced his founder dependency. So if you have a business, if your team asks you 2 or 3 or 5 questions a day, times, call it 200 days, that's 1,000 questions. 5 questions a day times 200 days is 1,000 questions. 1,000 questions times 15 minutes means that 15,000 minutes of your life have been saved if you drive them to your second brain. We present that in the founder-friendly capital research report. Let me just share that with you quickly, because you see it in the founder mode. We share that. How many hours were reclaimed? And these are the questions, and this is Clayton, this is all made up. In this example, for this period of time, this is 1 year period, this is 814 questions were answered, save the business owner 200 hours of their time. 6 team members are using it, and the topic areas cover these 8 distinct areas: hiring, invoicing, collections, and these are the analysis of the period of time. I'm sorry, it's not 1 year, it's 3 years. It's from 2026 through 2023. And these are the minutes that these are the minutes per year that have been saved. My apologies. So this is tracking how the second brain is used in a way that can be presented to a buyer to convince them that you have addressed the founder dependency issue. That will make your earnout clause less restrictive. It'll convince them that you have empowered your leadership team, plus the second brain, which you will leave behind at time of sale and be paid for, because you're leaving your second brain behind to the company so that they can keep accessing your second brain. And we had a little conversation earlier about how the second brain is formed and how it stays sharp and up to date. So let me show you the second brain control panel. We work with you to do all these settings. You're not going to spend too much time in here. All you really want to do is give your team access to it. This is where you'll manage who can query your second brain and allow you to, give it to the right people. Let's say for the sake of discussion, you're giving it to 3 people, your COO, your chief salesperson, and your CFO, for example. So those are the 3 people you want to give access to. And then the question becomes, what are they getting access to? So let me start by showing you each one of these, but I'm not going to spend too much time. It's frankly overpowering in terms of its level of detail. But I do want you to know that your second brain is treated with both the strength that it is and the valuable asset that it is. So let me share with you how your second brain is actually more powerful than your own brain. We have what we call basic. So this essentially takes everything you've composed in your 1 year from today in Buffett benchmark entries, and it extrapolates it into a thought process. And that's a beautiful function for AI. And you can essentially have a lot of questions answered just by us seeing how you think and work. However, if you were to go to the plus level, you would actually give this second brain permission to look at your email, your chat, your note-taking tools, and look for the topics you've identified. For example, if you've identified recurring revenue as a topic, this faster enrichment tool will look through your emails, etc., and try to find anything that you've said around recurring revenue, and it'll drag it back into the second brain. And it'll make your second brain smarter, faster. That's a way to accelerate and deepen the value of your second brain. If you go to the pro level, you're not only taking the second brain plus faster enrichment, you're now adding in the entire backstop of the Birthing of Giants community. We basically, level up or raise up the best business owners in our community, those whose Buffett benchmark is doing the best. So when someone in your company says, how do I handle an angry client, or how do I price a job? Before you answer from your own second brain, your answer is going to essentially talk to other business owners in the community, all within 60 seconds, and say, who here is really, really good at pricing things? Okay, these 10 business owners are really good at it. Their Buffett benchmark keeps going up. I'd like to know what you think of what my brain's answer is, and put them together. So now your second brain combines the power of multiple brains. And finally, ultra is when you take everything we've already talked about in basic, plus, and pro, and you add your live business systems to it. What do I mean? Someone says to you, hey, boss, I want to price a job like this. I want to give a 5% discount if they pay within 30 days, and I want to give them a volume discount, or whatever it is, whatever complex thing. And in the past, you would say something like, oh, I don't know, try to make 5%, 3%, or try to do this, try to do that. You'd answer the question as fast as you could. In the second brain environment, not only is it using your thought process, enriched by your own email, etc., enriched by the other business owners who excel at that topic, it finally adds in your actual live business systems. So it'll look at your QuickBooks, it'll look at your CRM, it'll look at your projects, it'll look at your business systems, and basically ask the question. So I'm thinking of giving this person a 5% discount, but what will that affect our quarterly margins? How will that affect our annual goals? And it'll look at your QuickBooks. How does that affect our current project pipeline? It'll look at your project management system. It'll produce an answer that has gone through all your live business systems. I've just showed you the most powerful second brain implementation ever to exist for the lower middle market business owner. And it all comes from you doing nothing else other than just telling us what you're going to do in your 1 year from today and what you did in your Buffett benchmark every 90 days. That's it. Everything else here amplifies your second brain through technology. What's in your brain? Let's look at what's in Clayton's brain. You can look at what's in your brain. It's got things around market fit, competitive mode, etc. And you can look at any entry. It's got summaries here. It says it's a strong part of your brain. All these are strong. You can look at anything at any given time to see what's in the brain. It goes on. These are your connections. I told you earlier you would connect it to your email, your Salesforce, your QuickBooks. That's all done just simply by adding a connection. Outlook, Zoho Books, add your own connections, all these different connections you can add in. Even if we don't have it listed here, you can just suggest it and we'll add it to it. All these second brain tools will enrich your brain faster. You can manually enrich your brain. If you wrote a book, a PowerPoint, an essay, an article, you can just upload that stuff right here and it'll enrich your second brain. You can also just answer some questions about your philosophy, your decision-making style, communication style to enrich your brain faster. This is where you'll control who has access. This guy named Sam has requested access, and you're going to give him access to the full ultra version. And his role is he's on your leadership team, and you'll approve it or deny it. And this will tell you who has access. This is a really cool, important part of the tool, which is that, I know this is all fictional, so there's nothing here. But when your team asks questions that are not answered by your second brain, like they might say, how do I get a raise in this joint? Or what do I got to do to get a promotion? Or what's your vacation policy? Who knows what they're going to ask? If it's asked multiple times, if somebody asks a question at least 3 times, let's say you keep getting asked questions about promotions, it'll show up here and say, you're being asked questions about promotions. Why do you need to know that? Because with one click of a button, you can say, start accumulating information in my second brain about promotions. And it will start to build your point of view on promotions. You'll be able to see it in the what's in my brain section, and you'll be able to see how your brain is developing on the topic of promotions right here in your second brain. And last but not least, all you need to do to connect this to your other AI systems, if you've exposed this second brain to your team, but you've built a corporate second brain, let's say you've built a chat GPT, a custom GPT, or a custom Claude, where you threw in your brand guidelines and you threw in your brand voice, and you say, I don't want them to have to look in 2 places. They don't have to. All you have to do is you can connect this second brain to your chat GPT, this second brain to your Claude, so that when they say @Clayton, it'll ask Clayton that question. So you can actually just take your brain, whatever corpus is created here, and you could actually include it in any other AI platform that you're working with. So our second brain process is basically absolutely leading in the marketplace. There's nothing like it for a business owner. We think that if you build a second brain simply by doing your 1 year from today's and your Buffett benchmarks on a regular basis, your second brain will grow in strength. And when you leave it behind for the company to use, you'll have demonstrated that the second brain is a valuable tool to your team. You'll have bought back hours, maybe hundreds of hours of your time from little questions that come your way all the time. And you'll have increased the value of your company by reducing founder dependency. Now, you might look at this all and say, this looks like space age stuff. We are into space age stuff here. We have now gone well past what was ever available to business owners and magnified it a lot more. The last thing I want to share with you before we break is the Strategic Partner Coach Portal. So let me see if I can find this part. Let me see, because I found this earlier. Okay, right now I am logged into the What Do You Think platform as I'm pretending to be Isaac Newton right now. Isaac Newton is a sample version of a strategic partner. So I know this looks like your platform. It's not your platform. This is somebody that, let's say an investment banker that we've given access to, because that investment banker is sending their clients to Birthing of Giants to get them ready for to go to market. And in this example, this guy named Isaac Newton, a strategic partner of Birthing of Giants, has sent us John Taylor, William Harrison, and James Polk. Now, for those of you who are very privacy concerned, this is only if you have given permission for this person, Isaac Newton, to see your progress. So Isaac Newton can basically ask about John Taylor, which is a person, a business owner on the platform, or William Harrison, or they can just play a podcast whenever they want, which will basically give them an audio version of progress for John, or they can view a report about how you're doing. Again, this is only with your permission, because you may have a trusted coach. You may have a consultant who's working with you, and you want to give them access to your development work. So we made a strategic partner portal available, so that if you've given them permission, they can track your progress. This is very valuable if you're working with an investment banker, or very valuable if you're working with a coach. This is about accelerating how information travels. We've even created a mechanism for that strategic partner to connect it to their own platform, so they can just set a reminder, tell me how John Tyler's doing every 90 days, so that they get a summary report, or every 30 days, or only when things like this happen.
Lewis.
So we've created a door for the strategic partners to come in that would allow them to assist you as you journey through your program. You could even use something like this for a right-hand person. You could make them a strategic partner, and they could essentially play a podcast about how you're doing. This would be if you have an integrator or an implementer, if you're an EOS person, things like that. So I got through what I want to get through in my 45 minutes. We talked about the Buffett benchmark as a historic capture. We talked about the Moneymakers Club to help you connect real operational decisions to financial impact. We talked about building a second brain as a way to demonstrate reduction in founder dependency. And we talked about how strategic partners can join you on the platform. And we are at 45 minutes past the hour. A lot of stuff in a short period of time. We have one last thing, which is how all of this bundles up into how you access founder-friendly capital. And that'll be what we'll talk about at 1 p.m. Eastern time.